Air shows are thrilling until the margin hits zero. When speed, altitude, and show lines converge, one missed gate is all it takes. In this video, you'll see 5 crashes exactly as they unfolded, captured by spectators and news cameras. We slow the footage, rebuild the timeline, and stick to what can be proven: official reports, contemporary records, and physics. No hype, no guesswork. From Ramstein's pierced heart routine in 1988 to a vintage jet slamming into hangars in Madrid, from the Mustang at Reno to a Marine Corps Hornet at El Toro, and a Gripen falling into central Stockholm, the patterns are the same: energy, altitude, and decision points. Viewer discretion advised. These are real accidents, presented to understand what went wrong and why those lessons still matter. It is the final act of the air show. Italy's Frecce Tricolori are flying Armacchi MB339 trainers. 2 formations draw a heart in smoke. A single jet dives to pierce it. The solo aircraft comes in too low and too fast. In a split second, it collides with the lead of one formation, then strikes another wingman. 3 jets are lost. Debris and fuel spray across the ramp. One wreck skids toward the spectator area and explodes. A fireball engulfs vehicles and a helicopter on the apron. Panic spreads as thousands try to move, while firefighters and medics race in. The toll is catastrophic. 70 dead, including 3 pilots. Hundreds are injured, many with severe burns. Video from multiple spectators captured the entire sequence. Investigators concluded the maneuver was flown outside safe limits for height and speed. The disaster triggered sweeping changes to airshow safety: greater separation from the crowd, no aerobatics toward spectators, and tighter approval of display routines. Germany suspended airshows for years, and many countries adopted similar rules. Ramstein remains one of the deadliest airshow accidents ever recorded. A hard lesson paid for in seconds. A vintage Hispano Aviation HA-200 Saeta, operated by the Infante de Orleans Foundation, begins its final pass over Madrid's Cuatro Vientos aerodrome. Seconds later, the jet drops nose low, crosses the apron, and strikes buildings near the hangars. A fireball erupts. Thick black smoke climbs over the field as emergency crews move in. The pilot, a Spanish Air Force commander, Ladislao Teodor Romero, is pulled from the wreckage alive but dies later in hospital. Several people on the ground suffer minor injuries and smoke inhalation. The crowd, roughly 3,000 strong, watches in shock as firefighters knock down the blaze and secure the area. Investigators from Spain's CIAIAC reviewed spectator footage, flight data, and wreckage. Their final report concludes the crash followed an unprogrammed, low-altitude maneuver at the end of the display, pilot error, with the vintage Saeta's performance and handling characteristics leaving little margin to recover. The aircraft was destroyed. This accident became a sobering reminder for historic jet displays. Keep height, energy, and escape routes in reserve, and fly only the briefed routine, especially in older airframes where response time is limited. Late afternoon, over Reno Airport. A highly modified P-51D Mustang, the Galloping Ghost, streaks down the home stretch with veteran pilot Jimmy Leeward at the controls. Coming off pylon 8, the Mustang suddenly pitches up, rolls inverted, then knives nose down toward the box seats. There's no fireball. The impact shatters the airplane and atomizes the fuel before it can ignite. Silence breaks into screams. Toll: 11 dead, including the pilot, and 10 spectators. 69 more on the ground are injured. The remaining races are canceled. Investigators reconstruct the final seconds from ground videos and telemetry. The cause traces to the elevator trim tab system. Reduced stiffness allowed aerodynamic flutter at racing speed. The left trim tab link fails. Control forces change in an instant. The aircraft surges into a high G pitch up, far beyond human tolerance, incapacitating the pilot. Untested, undocumented airframe modifications and a fixed right trim tab left no margin to recover. The result is a watershed for air race safety. Course redesign to push high-energy flight paths farther from spectators. Stricter pre-race inspections, mandatory engineering analyses for major mods, and G awareness training for pilots. Reno 2011 is a brutal reminder. At 400 miles per hour, a single component, no bigger than your forearm, can decide everything in a heartbeat. April 24th, 1988, MCAS El Toro, California. A U.S. Marine Corps FA-18 Hornet begins a solo routine before a packed crowd at the Navy Relief Air Show. At show center, the pilot, Colonel Jerry Caddick, pulls into a classic loop, planning to exit low along the crowd line. But on the down leg, the numbers don't add up. Altitude is bleeding off faster than airspeed returns. The Hornet reaches the bottom too low to recover. With the nose still slightly high, the jet strikes the runway and breaks apart across the concrete. There's no post-impact fire, only dust, debris, and stunned silence. Crash crews arrive within seconds. Miraculously, no spectators are injured. Caddick survives with massive, life-threatening injuries. The physics are unforgiving. A loop flown below a hard recovery height leaves zero margin. A few knots of entry speed, a fraction of a G, a puff of headwind, small errors that compound at the bottom, where altitude is the only currency that matters. El Toro became a cautionary benchmark. Brief the gates, meet the gates, or terminate. Energy management and altitude floors aren't suggestions. They're survival. A Swedish JAS 39A Gripen begins a low-speed demo over central Stockholm during the Water Festival. As the jet rolls, the nose starts to wander. Tiny corrections grow into visible oscillations. In seconds, the aircraft stalls. Test pilot Lars Rodestrom ejects. His parachute snaps open as the fighter drops towards Långholmen Island. The Gripen strikes the ground and erupts, sending a column of black smoke over the city. Miraculously, there are no fatalities on the ground. One spectator suffers serious burns. Fire crews attack the blaze within minutes and secure the site as crowds are moved back from the shoreline. Footage from multiple angles captures the entire sequence. Investigators trace the chain to pilot-induced oscillation in the flight control system, an issue also seen in an earlier 1989 test flight crash. Saab later implements software changes and additional validation, and display guidance is tightened. Keep altitude and energy in reserve, avoid slow-speed rolls near spectators, and brief, hard escape gates. Stockholm 1993 remains a near miss of historic scale, a fast jet falling into a capital city, and almost everyone lives to tell the tale. One of the question is 5 crashes, 5 different stories, one pattern. When energy runs out and the gate isn't met, there's no bailout left. We showed what the cameras saw and what the evidence supports. If a cause was confirmed, we named it. If it wasn't, we stopped at the facts. These lessons weren't paid for by machines, they were paid for by people. Airshow flying is safest when pilots brief hard limits and keep the margin, altitude, airspeed, escape. Respect the discipline, and the crowd goes home inspired. If this helped you understand what went wrong and why, consider subscribing and sharing it with someone who cares about aviation safety. Sources and further reading are in the description and pinned comment. If we missed an official report, drop it below and we'll review it. Tell us which incident hit you hardest and what you want us to analyze next. Stay curious, stay respectful, and we'll see you in the next episode.